It's a recap time.
What an intro.
What an intro. Let's look forward and not look back.
Ooh, sage advice.
You said I was not allowed to mention the DHL Stormers, so let's look forward.
Oh, what? Oh, okay.
Come on, Zels. Okay, it's URC. It's URC. Playoff time. It's the Bulls against the Sharkies. It's Leinster up against the Glasgow Warriors.
The sharp end of the season,
The
right?
top 4 teams in the league, all into the semi-finals. Form being rewarded.
Oh,
The Sharks got there in the most dramatic
never
way.
in doubt, mate.
Never in doubt. Never in doubt. So we are going to dedicate this show to the Stormers in their season in finishing 5th and then crashing out in the quarterfinals. Not!
Yeah, that was a disappointing result.
I'm not going to talk about the Stormers. Let's talk about the Bulls and the Sharks.
Okay.
Let's talk about winners today, mate.
Let's talk about winners.
Let's talk about the winners.
Let's talk about the winners, mate. Let's talk about the Sharks. I mean, I could do the whole show just on Jaden Hendrickson. That's just me. I mean, I loved the guy before. Now he's an official. He's got a blazer from Zels squad. He's officially in the team. And he's on the shortlist to captain my team, mate. I love this guy. Jaden Hendrickson is worth his weight in winks.
Why is that? You always like the underdog.
No, I just think Jaden Hendrickson is the perfect scrum half, man. That's exactly what you want. A guy who just gets in everybody's head. Nobody can think straight around him. Everybody goes cross-eyed. They're all trying to get this guy. They've taken their eyes off the scoreboard. Like I said, the results are in the book.
Slow service, ponderous service.
No, mate.
Looking around, looks disinterested half the time.
Fabulous.
He's your number 9.
He's my number 9. He might not be at the right team for his skill set. I think Jaden is fantastic for the box. I think Grant Williams may be a better fit for the way the Sharks want to play. But Jaden is a fantastic scrum half, and he brings those intangibles like I just mentioned. Again, I'm not saying he's had a great season, and I'm not saying his form has been electric, but that is a quality player.
So you'd pick him every day of the week in the Bok 23.
I'm always going to back him, mate.
Are you going to back him to start?
I'll back him to start, absolutely. Grant can come off the bench. Wheels comes off the bench, Villa, and does damage. But Jaden Hendrickson, I think, is a great test option at scrum half.
So you think he's now your number 9. A couple of weeks ago, you're worried about the 9s in the
Mate,
country.
he's in my Zell squad. So if I pick the teams the way I want to play with the kind of players I want, he's definitely.
So how's that?
Yeah.
What makes him so good at 9?
He's edgy. He's edgy and he gets under the opposition's skin. He distracts the opposition. He's the guy everybody wants to kill. Half of South Africa wants to get hold of this guy because they're frustrated by him. But he's a fantastic player. His kicking game is very, very good. I think where Jaden has struggled at the Sharks, and we've talked about it for most of the season, is you can't really tell what the Sharks are trying to do. There's a bit of a dysfunction in the way that they play. And I think a guy like that is maybe not suited to that. A guy who's more of a freestyle. I think Bola Conradi would have thrived at the Sharks right now. He would be electric. But he's not necessarily the guy you want to be playing chess with at test level. So Jaden is that guy, in my opinion. And I don't know, while we were on the subject, I think Plum was 100% right. Defending his team for not playing with flair, I don't think flair's got anything to do with it. They are winning, and they are supposed to be winning, and that's what they should be measured on. The points that I was making was it's difficult to be confident in the way the Sharks are playing because you can't really tell what the objective is there. Aside from, yes, they want to win, they don't really seem to take control of games. So the results have been amazing, but, coaches shouldn't pay any attention to the media because Plum is winning and getting it in the neck for not playing sexy, and the Stormers are playing fantastic rugby at times, but getting it in the neck for not winning. So the coaches just need to concentrate on, I think, their core job and kind of tune out the media.
No, cut out the noise. I'm 100% with you there. I think the critique of the Sharks is the quality of that team. They should be putting teams away a lot more comfortably.
Totally.
It shouldn't take 100 minutes at home against Munster and a dramatic penalty kick shootout
Spot on.
to beat Munster at home.
But you and I agree. It's not about whether it's sexy or not. It's just about the control of the game.
Completely. They're in the semi-finals of the Vodacom United Rugby Championship. That was their goal. They one match away from being in the final, potentially even hosting the final if the Warriors go to Dublin and do the unthinkable and beat Leinster. So, and then Plum would turn around. They would all turn around and say, so what? We're here and we had to win. My thing is, I could understand that if they were a side that was given no chance of making it to the top 4, and somehow they're scraping wins and they're winning 8 of their matches with 7 or less points, and it's like, wow, what fight, what ticker. When I look at the quality of that pack, 5 World Cup winning Springboks in that pack. I look at those backs. I would just like to think they should be 2 scores comfortably at home ahead of any other team.
And they would be if they brought Ethan closer to the ball, mate.
And that's my critique of the Sharks. People seem to think I hate the Sharks. I don't particularly like Durban, but I enjoy the Sharks.
Mate, that's not what you said before we started.
I enjoy the Sharks because they're black, white, and dynamite.
Yeah.
But I get frustrated watching a side that's skilled, because that's like watching a Bok team playing in a black and white jersey and not producing.
Totally.
So if that was the Boks playing against the whole season, I would be kind of as critical in saying,
correct.
Yes, they've won 10 of their 12 matches, but my goodness, you expect them to really like put the hammer down at some stage and do someone. And they could say, well, we're peaking semi-final, final time. That's when we're going to come. Hammer time, just before the test season.
Yeah.
Eben back to form, playing again. Sia flying. Those backs coming into play. Lukanya. So the critique I've had of the Sharks, it's just been frustrating to watch them, because you just think they should have more dominance and control throughout a game. And they do then rely on some wonderful individual moments. And I mean, in the Sharks win against Munster 21-10 down to that stage. Big definitive turning point, Ethan Hooker. He's been our player of the season. I mean, well, you were raving about him in the Currie Cup last season.
Yeah.
So he's been brilliant for the Sharks, whether you play him in the midfield or you play him on the wing. We talk about our Stecco power plays.
Stecco, mate.
Wonderful
Solutions
guys.
that deliver power and precision. There were great power tools in action this weekend, mate. You mentioned Ethan Hooker's try. You got any other tries you want to?
Yeah, and sustainability. We've got to give, like, Stecco, they align with us. They support us, and they got some great power tools. They'll drop in the next 2 or 3 months. But last weekend, the biggest power tool drop, and that was Ethan Hooker. I mean, I thought he was just outstanding. He's one of those players who's got the Midas touch. I thought there were some incredible Stecco moments around the globe. Cam Roygaard reminded me so much of a strong, athletic US van der Westhuizen, and just the sense of the try line, the way he can intercept, the way he can steal the ball, very physical. So I enjoyed his try for the Hurricanes against Moana Pacifica. Not such a good hello for Artie Severe and Julian Severe in Wellington. They got pumped. But some great tries in Super Rugby. They're into the playoffs this week, and we'll chat about that. Then some big moments also in the English Premiership. Andre Pollard at the heart of Leicester going through to the semi-finals. But in our Vodacom URC, the Bulls, there were 3 or 4 great tries. I mean, Cam Honeycomb, Kane Moody, it's just wonderful to see him playing so well at the moment. I think the try that set up for David Creel was a great one. Siabela Sanakta's second try just after halftime was just outstanding. That was the Stormers at their best from a good set piece. But for me, the Stecco power play, try-scoring power play, because if you talk power play, it has to be the Sharks' 3 kickers. The Hendrickson brothers and Bradley Cooper, huh?
Like you said, the sniper.
The sniper. No, we know it's not Bradley Cooper. It's Bradley
Davids.
Yeah, you're going to say Bradley Jacobs.
You got me.
So when I did call him Bradley Cooper, no one kind of got what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I was talking about the sniper in the movie, mate.
Davids,
so, yeah, Brady Davids,
just
outstanding.
For hard work.
6 from 6 they kicked. Connor Murray, I also thought, like, he stepped up. He kicked that big one to make it 24-all, the veteran scrum off, and then he kicked well also in the shootout. But great drama. It's not the way I even just spat at the screen there.
Hey, you're excited.
Not the way I want to see a rugby match decided through a soccer-type penalty shootout. But as someone says, well, how do you decide it then?
I've already written columns about how you decided. You decided, I think we've actually spoken about it before. You decided with the rugby play. So you have a team, has a line out on the 22. They've got 5 phases to score. If they don't score, it's a turnover. The other team gets the ball on the 22 and it's their turn. You have shots at scoring a try.
Well, I think the best way is you don't go to extra time. You go to the golden point. Because extra time will make you think you've got 10 minutes, another 20 we go. But when it's golden score...
If it's golden point, then all Oaks are going to do is just bang the ball downfield.
So you want a result after 80 minutes. So let's get it overdone by the 83rd minute. Then go to a soccer-type extra time, and then you got some prop.
It was great for TV.
Oh, it was wonderful. Wonderful for the URC as well, and just wonderful theatre that was delivered, and heroes were born. Heroes were born in that moment.
Speaking about heroes, mate, because you kind of glossed over this guy. We're both guilty of glossing over this guy this season. He's been superb for the Bills. I think he's been outstanding given the opportunity he was given to start at fly half for them. Keegan Johannes, fantastic scrum half who's kind of waited his turn to play, and Jake has trusted him to start in the 10 jersey, filling in the boots of Jan Goosen, who Jake rates very, very highly. And he's been fantastic for them. And he obviously did score a great try on the weekend too. Broke the line, looked deadly. He's kind of taken it all in his stride, and we haven't given him any props, mate. And that's
It's your wheat, Tonto.
that's disappointing.
It's your wheat.
That is disappointing.
He's in the royal wheat.
I expected more from you.
Well, I also expected more from Keegan Johannes. He didn't actually deliver that. He missed 3 of his first 4 kicks. No, he scored a great
He's been
try.
great, eh?
He's played well.
Unheard of it.
He's a 9 who's playing 10. The last time he played 10 before the season was at school. Interesting comments from Jake after the match when he told him at halftime, you back yourself. All I'm hearing is Willie call for the tee.
Yeah.
David Kriel's going to kick.
Yeah.
You kick.
Yeah.
You keep on kicking.
That's
and
lovely.
grow into it. But I was thinking, what's going on in the field when every guy's calling for the tee? He's missed 3. Come, bring me my tee. So, no, Keegan Johannes has been outstanding and big boots to fill in the sense that Jan Goosen has been pivotal to the way the Bulls want to play and their thinking. And he got injured, unfortunately, when they went overseas in their last tour. But they looked a lot different when he was playing 10. So a lot of pressure on him. But
Is he Bok material with his versatility and his goal kicking?
Keegan Johannes, yeah, definitely. If he can play 9-10, he can kick. And he's kind of got the pace to be. If you had to stick him out on the wing, out at fullback, he could do you a job.
Isn't that exactly the kind of guy that Rassie puts a premium on?
No, completely. And he has a big game on Saturday. Saturday's going to be a ripper because it's effectively like another Bok trial.
Big
Problems
time.
against possibles.
Big
But before we get to that, let's just wrap up that sticker.
Okay, sorry.
So who is?
I'm going Ethan Hooker, mate.
Okay.
I mean, that's a foregone
Well, I'm going Keegan Johannes because you said we.
I talked you in.
You said we.
No Silver.
So, and I think that's appropriate. We're going to have 2 stick-up power players, given that it's the Bulls against the Sharks in the semi-final.
Everybody gets a prize. You have to pick one.
Yeah, there's no third place here. So, you've got to have made it to the semi-finals of the URC and beat South African to get it and being a South African team.
Speaking about being South African, mate, have you seen that URC Elite 50?
Yeah.
It's loaded with South Africans. It's dominated the packs, mate.
Beautiful. That's why we're the best.
It's incredible.
The best.
Hey?
Okay, talk me through it. Loose head.
I think that when Jan Hendrik Wessels at loose head, Marnus van der Merwe,
Good player, that guy. Eh?
Hooker, I agree.
Another guy who's gone overseas, kind of fairly unheralded in this country and has blossomed
Yeah.
playing in Wales. Tight head.
When Wilkalo, the
Well,
one-
no.
Yeah. Arceus Neyman was the 4.
Never in doubt. Tight burn then.
Was the 5, yeah. And then the Lucy's were
Jack Morgan.
Rory Dodge on the blind side,
Cam Yannick.
and Cam Honeycomb.
That's a bloody good pack.
It is a
yeah.
very good pack, mate.
And then who was it? Sasha was at 10, I know.
Yeah, Craig Casey was at 9, Sasha was at 10.
Andre the
Giants
Giant.
at 12, yeah. Tom Farrell, I think, was at 13. And then foreigners in the back.
Yeah, we got a Scottish guy.
Yeah, it was Blair Murray on the left wing.
Yeah, and
It
that's
was-
a Kiwi.
Yeah, Jamie Osborne at fullback and Darcy Graham, mate.
Nice to see that Leinster got an Irishman in the team.
Oh, so nice, mate.
Eh? One of the young ones.
So nice.
So, yeah, South Africans full on there. Coached by Dobbo.
Could be, mate.
They play a great game.
Yeah.
So, no, that's just great reward. We saw Ruben van Heerden, 171 tackles, 98% tackle efficiency. He was given the Tackle Machine Award by the URC. And then the next gem player, Cameron Honeycomb, follows in the footsteps of Evan Riss. These Paul Boys high guys, there's no stopping them.
Yeah, it just goes to show motivation, man. Apparently, Ruben is paid per tackle, so that's why his tackle count's so high.
And then we look all around the world, how the South Africans featured. If you look at the Japanese League One, 3 South Africans in there, 15. Colby not there, which was a big surprise for me. And Lurt, who's just, thank goodness he's been playing. But then you've got Damien Dialandi, he's there. He's been outstanding for the Wild Knights. Yeah. Kwagga Smith, it's been good. And obviously Malcolm Marx, he's incomparable. Lost in the final with Frans Lucas' team, but he'll be back and firing. He has re-signed apparently to 2027 with the Kubota Spears.
Are you surprised by that? Then he's going to hang around and...
No, not at all. I think he's got the perfect setup going for himself. He is, without a doubt, top 2 hookers in the world, consistently 1 or 2 in the way they play with Bongi in the box setup. Why come back here and be beaten to a pulp throughout the season in Europe when you have a very comfortable lifestyle? He's playing some decent rugger. There's some very good players in that league. And
it's a long time to be away from home, but okay.
And his game time is also kind of like limited. I think my understanding from the guys who go to Japan say it's one of the most amazing rugby experiences, one of the most amazing cultural experiences. Not surprised at all If he's going to come back, I think it will be post the 2027 World Cup and maybe play out 2 years here.
Okay.
Or go to Europe for a big, big payday. But Malcolm Marx, he's in there. That's great to see as well. And then in the Super Rugby Pacific 15. And again,
How many South Africans?
interesting thing there is that 15 it's voted by the opposing captains and coaches. So that 15 was very relevant to me.
Brilliant.
And that there were 7 Aussies in terms of positionals, but they couldn't separate the 2 flankers. The bloke from the Force, what's his name?
Tizano.
And then
Tizano.
McGrath.
Yeah, Fraser McGrath from the Reds.
They got exactly the same amount of points.
Yeah.
And then there were 7 from the New Zealand sides and the hooker, I think, from Fiji Drua. So, and 2 Australian sides in the top 4 for the playoffs. So that's good for Australian rugby leading up to the British and Irish Lions series. That's going to be a belt. So 9 matches there. They warm up against Argentina. And then they also play in the Nations team over there and also an Anzac 15, which is a combination of New Zealand and Australia. They play all the 4 Super Rugby franchises and obviously the 3 Test series. So good news for Australia there. No South Africans featuring there because none of them are playing there. Okay. But we look at then Tommy DeToy, English Premiership in the top 5 nominated, again by players and coaches. The winner there, Thomas Williams from Wales, playing for Gloucester. He's going on the British and Irish Lions tour. He's one of 2 Welshmen.
Bloody good player.
And he's the player of the season voted for by the opposition and the coaches. So kudos to him. You know, he's obviously, people don't know him too well here. But when a player can stand out in a club that's struggling,
Totally.
doesn't make the playoffs,
And a nation that's been...
poor, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just Saffers everywhere. Saffers players, Saffer coaches.
Mate, you've been very bullish about these coaches. I saw you wrote a column in Kia.co.za that got quite a lot of traction. I think it's top of the Google search results.
Always top of the girls. I know my SEOs, mate.
I don't know. You're quite bullish about these SA coaches.
I am. Well, we've won the World Cup twice in the last 2 occasions. Rassie Erasmus, obviously top dog there with Jacques Nienaber, who's at Leinster. You got Franz Ludiker, who's done amazing things in Japan. You've got Dobbo in Stormers, first year win, second year finalist, battled but good coach. You've got Jake with the Bulls, another player for them, hosting. Franco Smith's been outstanding for Glasgow. Akazi's back in town. He was good for Gloucester. It's good overseas. Johan van Graan, EPC, our Challenge Cup winner, top of the table with Bath. They won the knockout tournament as well. They're going for their kind of historic treble, even though it's not the Investing Champions Cup. And then when you look at Bordeaux,
I was going to say, Yannick Brew, South African.
yeah, he's not South African. He's got some good South Africans with him. Heine Adams,
Yep.
Zondag, they're in that mix there as
Yep.
well. So it's just wherever you look, there's a South African player or coach making a huge impact. And then also no surprises. Leinster seen as the best club team in the world. Their 2 best players this season, a Springbok lock and an All Black centre. What does that tell you, mate?
Tells you, mate, that Ireland are on the down. They need us, mate. They need the South to prop them up.
But wonderful things going on. And I mean, one of the biggest things to come out of the season is from the end of June, South Africa will be a full member of the EPCR. And that is massive in terms of financially, but also the travel, the kind of benefits that come.
Yeah.
People forget that the South African Rugby Union, where SA Rugby had to buy their way into the North. And that came at a price. But it's an investment that will reap rewards.
Big time.
To get our South African teams in. We've played 3 seasons in the Champions Cup / Challenge Cup and 4 seasons in the URC. We'll be guaranteed a South African team in each one of the 4 seasons. We've hosted the first 3, and there's the potential of hosting a 4th successive one should the Glasgow Warriors, as I said, do the unthinkable and knock over Leinster. And I think that's just reward for the quality of South African player and the sacrifice that has been made over the last 4 years. We've managed to win a rugby championship nationally. We've managed to win 2 successive World Cups. Most of our players that are playing in South Africa haven't rested really. They don't have that off season because they've gone from a Southern Hemisphere season into a Northern Hemisphere season. And I think just the sacrifice and the commitment that's been made has been, it's just been incredible, the results that we've got. And then to finish in the URC teams 2, 3, and 5. I mean, that's just a monumental effort. The one thing that they have to work on, and that's finding the balance. How do they become more competitive in the Champions Cup? I think we spoke about that last week. The announcement of a World Club Championship. in 2028 means top 8. That's the quarterfinalists
Yeah.
of the Messi Champions Cup go into that competition. You will see a lot more intent from the South African teams to make sure they make that and then back themselves to just make the top 8 of the URC and go on the road and win, because it can be done, as opposed to put all the eggs in the basket of just the URC.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So going back to the whole thing about South Africa buying their way into Europe, for me, maybe after the Rupert Murdoch invention of professional rugby, I think that's probably the most seismic, gutsy, ballsy move that's happened in rugby, and I think it's been absolutely outstanding. I think it was a gamble. There was a risk factor to it, and I think the results have shown that it was the right call, it was the right move. So kudos to everybody involved with dreaming up that great idea and executing it and having the balls to follow through. So well done. And I think we've kind of gone through, or we are almost completing the teething pain of that change. And I think the rewards are coming. And I think we're going to see the benefits of that financially shortly.
Yeah, and I also think, we've always been big to knock administrators in this country, to knock elected officials. But Mark Alexander's presidency has been coveted in gold in the last 6 years. The results that the teams have got, the kind of gains that South African rugby have made, and the transition into the Northern Hemisphere has been massive. He's a popular guy at World Rugby.
Yep.
He's understated in a lot of things he does. And so shout out to the little guy with the big portfolio. So congratulations to him. It's a good time. We keep on saying it's a good time to be South African. It's a good time to be involved with rugby in South Africa. It's good to see our URC teams doing well. It's great to see our Springbok team be as magnificent as they are, which brings me to the crux of this show, which is the Springbok trial match on Saturday. It's at what?
I can't
20.
wait.
It's 6:15.
6:15, yeah.
6:15. The probables against the possibles. It's the Sharks against the Bulls. It's effectively a Springbok trial. There's 25 plus Springboks on display.
Beautiful.
And I would pay just for one thing. That first scrum when Oxen Chair and Will Kalo say, how's it?
Mate, that front row battle is going to be absolutely epic. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Vinnie Koch, Johan Grobelaar, Bongi Banambi. It's going to be fabulous. Even Etzebeth against some of the upstarts, JF and Hidden in the mix. I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. I think it's the best of South African rugby will be on display. If you like the physical stuff, this is one not to miss.
Eben, it's time in his run to perfection, as we said he would. Back for the last 2 games. Got through the 100 minutes. He'll be there, leading from the front at Loftus, and then ready for a final and ready for the test season. Played it just perfectly.
Absolutely, mate. So the Sharks and Bulls have played 9 times in URC history. The Sharks have won 5, Bulls have won 4. Sharks on a 2-match win streak, swept the Bulls this season in the league phase. At the beginning of that rivalry, you almost had the feeling that the Sharks had Jake's number, and then he kind of clawed it back, and now they've got their edge again. So the Bulls are either going to level that series at 5-5, or the Sharks are going to streak into 6-4 territory. In the history of those 9 games, the average score is 26-26. I think we're in for a nail-biter.
26-26. The match that interested me the most was the 29-19 league match in February, given that there were 9 Sharks players that were of their main Springboks that were unavailable, and among them being Eben, Sia Khaleesi, Oxen Chair, some big players that didn't play that game. And these youngsters came out and they were just brilliant. At one stage, they were 12 Sharks against 15 Bulls. And they ended up going from 12-5, I think it was, to 29-12. The Bulls got that late try. But that must give them confidence to say, and that Bulls side isn't going to be a hell of a lot different. Marcel Coetzee comes back and 1 or 2 others. But other than that, it was the best Bulls side that they could put out. They're all going to feature in the semi-final on Saturday. And they took a whipping from a team that played with such pace and played from such depth and kind of like withstood the bullying, the onslaught. They were getting smashed in the scrum, smashed at the line out. But every time they turned over ball, poof, they went. And they scored some fabulous tries.
I like that.
So,
I definitely am a believer in backing the guys that are in form and desperate to make a point on the field. I think those are the guys that are going to win you club matches. So I think the Sharks have got depth and they've got quality and they've got form. They've just got to put it together in terms of their plan. Once that thing clicks, I mean, like you said, The quality of play on that roster is insane.
And we keep on saying maybe it's the weather conditions in Durban, but when they've gone away from home, they've been equally kind of inconsistent. They've got the win. Also, they've been consistent. They take it down to the 79th minute and they win the game.
Yeah.
But Loftus in Pretoria on a Saturday night, 6:15. Traditionally, it's just great weather. It's a great track to be playing on. It's going to be a sellout. I know they sold something like 25,000 tickets in the first day, which the one thing that did slightly disappoint me was the quarterfinals, the crowd attendance in Durban, the crowd attendance in at Loftus. But this one is going to be a sellout. This one is a statement to the world about when South Africa's two best, and they are the two best South African teams in the URC, without a doubt, second and third on the table. They've got the results. When they go toe-to-toe, and with so many Springboks there. The matchups, obviously we've spoken about Ox. Well, I mentioned Ox and Wilco. It's that first meeting of the two brothers. Wow, it's going to be big. Any other key matchups that you see, or do you think it's going to be more collective?
No, I think it's everybody. I mean, I think it's Willie Leroux, Apaleli Fassi. It's Kanan Moody and Makazoli. It's, I think it's across the board you're going to see that stuff. So Davy Kriel wants to be a Springbok. Andre Estesen is a Springbok. I think you see lots of action.
I like the way you said that, eh?
I think it's going to be great, man. I think it's going to be an absolutely cracking game. And everybody seems like this last weekend was the weekend of the 11s because Seb de Klerk was outstanding for the Bulls. You had Makazoli Mapimpi doing amazing things, and then Siabelo Samatla, double try scorer. So everybody's kind of finding their form, and everybody knows that Rassi's watching and that international opportunities are on the line here. So I think it very much is going to be a trial game.
So it's going to be it's going to be the semi-finals for which numbers this weekend?
Ooh.
Maybe the 9s.
Ooh, that's a good call. Ooh, not a bad call that either. Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite interested to see what happens in the battle of the 10s because neither of those two guys are established box. Keegan playing well above what the expectation was. And then Jordan Hendrickse is a guy who's kind of flashed on and off and probably looking for a consistent performance. So,
and the critique about the Hendrickse brothers, they're very good players, but that they're the reason the Sharks aren't firing in this kind of all-out razzle-dazzle attack team. Fair, unfair?
No, I don't think that's fair at all. I think those two guys are by nature guys that want to have a go, but I just think that some guys' skill sets are better suited to making sense out of chaos than other guys. And I think, I think maybe that's the fit might not be there for the way that they're playing. I don't think it's the players per se.
Van Heerden, a big game for him, a lot to be up against the greatest, many say South Africa has produced, one of the greatest in the world, Eben Etzebeth. This is a young kid, 21 years old.
Huge, mate.
Got all the makings. He has a big one there. Ruan Nokia will probably play on flank again, which I've been liking the way he's come through. Bit of a Franco Mostert type copy and paste job there.
Vincent Chituka against Ruan Nokia in the line-out situation and potentially defensive line-outs for the Sharks having a go at contesting. I think Vincent Chituka is a guy that is going to surprise people in the next season. I think everybody knows who he is, but he is primed to break out. So it's going to be a hell of a clash because the talk will all be around that Bulls loose trio, right? You talk about Marcel Coetzee, Cam Hanekom, everybody loves them. Ruan Nokia doing great things at blindside flank. But I think the Sharks are about to remind everybody what they can do.
And then you look at Grobbies, who's really come on this season for me at hooker. This is a chance for him to make a statement and say, Malcolm Marx and Bongi are 1 and 2, and they have been for the best part of 6-7 years.
Yeah.
The big discussion point is who's 3 in the country who could step in and play that role. And he's been earmarked and they're kind of a little bit off the radar. A few others came in and were tried. Big statement match for him.
Yeah, he needs a big game. He needs a big game. Set piece needs to function smoothly. And when he gets a shot to carry or tackle, he needs to remind people what he can do. So he looks to me like he's bulked up a bit. So let's see some of that power in the contact this weekend.
Then the midfield as well. For me, an interesting one there because you've got Andre the Giant, Lukanya Springboks. They've got such depth when you think they're not picking the Sharks. The boogeyman's not there at the moment. The team hasn't been announced yet, so we don't know if we'll be in the 23. All things considered, I think I'll probably go with what they went with last weekend. But up against a seasoned campaign in Harold Foster and obviously David Kriel, who started well, kind of plateaued a bit, there and thereabouts in the mix. It's two very different sets of midfielders very against each other.
No, it is. You You've got that Springbok pedigree in the Sharks team, and then Andre, obviously a massive unit. That's a big obstacle in midfield. And Lekanyo, very savvy and a playmaker at outside centre. And then for the Bulls, you've got David Kriel, who's, the Swiss Army knife, can do everything from anywhere. And Harold Foster is probably a little bit underrated, probably closer towards the twilight of his career, but this will be a huge, huge game for him. Also one where he'll want to, lay down a marker.
And let's talk a bit about Willie Leroux.
It's been great.
And he has been great, eh?
It's been absolutely fabulous, mate.
And he's got an extension on his contract in Pretoria. He should get to 100 test matches this year if he's fit.
Yeah.
He really has kind of taken a stroll to that 100. But just playing with such enthusiasm and with such class, I thought he was outstanding against Edinburgh in big moments.
No, he was. And I think a lot of the Bulls' ability to control the field and be dangerous once their pressure turns into kick receipts is obviously Willie Leroux. And people have spoken about his ability to basically call the play 3 or 4 phases ahead of it. So he understands what's coming, and I think he gives great direction to a backline that is not the most experienced in the world, but is full of athletic ability.
All right. I'm not going to ask you for a score yet because I just want to cover 1 or 2 other games before we wrap up today. I want us to look at the Premiership because there's so many South Africans involved. That's the English Premiership. It is the Super Rugby playoffs, a very interesting system there. There's only 3 matches.
Terrible.
So a lucky loser goes through, and that lucky loser is the highest seeded team. So the Chiefs may as well not play. They host the Blues, but if they lost, they still host the semi-final because they end at top of the table.
Correct.
But I'm expecting the Chiefs to beat the Blues. I don't know what you're going with there.
Agree with that.
I'm expecting the Crusaders to beat the Reds.
Agree with that.
And I think the big one there is the Brumbies at home against the Hurricanes, and I think the Brumbies will sneak that one.
Mate, I think the Hurricanes.
Okay, so you got all 3 New Zealand teams.
Yeah.
And the Aussie.
And the Brumbies go through as the lucky loser.
Okay, great. And then they play away from home in the semi-finals. We'll talk about that one next weekend. I've enjoyed Super Rugby. I did write a column and say it is proper. I think the All Blacks, Scott Robertson, can really put together a very, very good squad of 30. Given they're also playing the big 2 tests of this season at home against the Springboks, September the 9th, September the 16th, I think it is. Put that in your diaries. Auckland, Wellington is going to be huge. Premiership, it's Bath, Johan van Graans's Bath. They're at home against Bristol Bears. That's basically, again, it's South Africa, New Zealand / Samoa. It's Pat Lam. It's the South African influence against like Kiwi influence. Stephen Latua is there. There's a couple of Kiwis in that mix.
Yeah.
They've had an indifferent season. The Bears have come back. And then the other one is...
Isn't Bears Bernard Janssen from Rensburg? Isn't he the...
Yeah, well, that's been everywhere.
Yeah, so, the mullets. The raging mullets.
So I've got Bath to win, obviously.
I got Bath to win.
To win at home. And then Andre Pollard has led Leicester's Tigers with aplomb. They're up against the 3rd place is Sale Sharks. A lot of South Africans. The Dupois brothers, the Duprees, Dan, Jean-Luc, and Robert. Robert and Jean-Luc is going to Bordeaux. He's going to Bordeaux Beagles.
Yep.
Big South African contingent there. So who are the other South Africans in that side?
Ernst van Rijn is in the mix there. I think that might be it.
I think there's 1 or 2 others. They used to have about 20.
Oh, no, wait. Isn't Marius Lowe's going there?
Yeah.
Marius Lowe's going to South
Yeah,
Africa.
Faf was there. Akka was there. John O'Ross was there. At one stage, about 9 of them in the starting 15. But the guy who's, Andre Liebenberg has always done well at Leicester.
Yeah.
Come a little bit of a cult figure there. He led them with aplomb. Jasper Wiese was there before he went to Japan. He's obviously injured. But Andre Pollard, and I did a piece on him in the week as well. He had an awful time in Montpellier. He went there after the 2019 World Cup. Highest paid player in the world, struggled with injury, COVID, struggled with injury, struggled with a bit of form, just struggled with everything there. And in basically his 4 seasons, he played 29 matches. And his last 3 matches, he played a collective of 12 minutes. And it was 2, 4, and 6. And he came off the bench each time. And that was the top 14 semi-final and final.
Jeez.
So you had the World Cup winner. He had lost interest. They had lost interest. He was on his way to Leicester. And it was like, do Leicester know what they've signed? It's a guy who wins everything for the Springboks, but he doesn't really play. This was the narrative because of what had happened in Montpellier. 49 starts in 52 matches for Leinster in his 3 seasons. He's been outstanding for them.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
And you look at his career, when I kind of broke it down, He's done everything. He was writing school exams for Paul Jim. He's the only schoolboy ever to be picked to play in an SA under-20 tournament. He won it for them against the All Blacks, the junior All Blacks at Newlands, including a drop goal. He then won a third place the next year with the under-20s. And then he won silver. They lost 21-20 in New Zealand, where they beat the All Blacks twice again in the competition, in pool play and the semi-final. And he was named Player of the Year. A month later, he was making his debut against Scotland, kicking a lot of points. 2 months later, he scored 2 tries against the All Blacks at Ellis Park. A bronze winner at the 2015 World Cup, a gold winner 2019, and another gold medal 2023. And he's 31 years old.
The only thing that's more amazing than that, mate, is how he was omitted from the 2023 World Cup squad. But absolutely incredible. I mean, who's ever going to be able to top that kind of a career record? Because it's consistent success from junior level all the way to the very top of the game and touching on European rugby along the way. It's incredible.
And he had 7 matches in Japan in between the COVID kind of crisis. Played province under 16, province under 18, province under 13, always captained the sides. When you look at his pedigree and it's rolled out like that, it's still, you know, we rave about Rassie and Jock and what they did at the World Cup. One of the most baffling decisions ever was 4 scrum offs and no Andre Pollard.
100%.
He came in and saved their asses. He saved our asses.
Yep.
He won that World Cup for us. 13 successful kicks.
Yep.
In the World Cup, starting against Tonga and into the playoffs game, didn't miss, and they win gimmies. I mean, that kick against France, that kick against England, wow. And he was never going to miss. And we go back to 2019, that kick against Wales in the semi-final. Big, after Damien Delandy scored that incredible try, Wales were right back in it, and he really nailed that kick to kind of give us the comfort and give us the game.
Yeah.
We know that Sasha FM, he's our guy. He is the future. I think the combination of the two of them, with Amani Lebok not to be forgotten, is obviously going to give us comfort. And a Damien Willemse can still also play there at 10. But people are so quick to want to chuck Andre Pollard away every season, and I just don't get it.
No, I think that's what we mustn't forget. The Iceman is the Iceman, and we need to keep him in the mix all the way to that next World Cup. I think he's going to be very, very valuable to the Boks, and I think Rassie knows that more than most, if not more than anybody, which makes that decision not to take him in 2023 very surprising, and almost you wonder whether it was planned, you know, whether he was always going to bring him back to the squad.
Well, I don't really know, because I don't think they wanted to take Malcolm Marx's knee out. And he had just come back and played that Sunday. He had played his first 36 minutes. And he was in Paris on the Monday. And just to think that he had 36 minutes of rugby before those 4 big games. And if you're going to test your physicality, Tonga's not a bad side to test against at a World Cup. So I just keep on looking back at his career and kind of constructing the piece and putting it together. And I put out a message on X as well. And I said, if you've got the time, please read this piece just to understand how incredible this guy's career has been and what he's achieved. Because we tend to gloss over the great ones and gloss over what they've done. You know, Percy Montgomery, our good friend, Andre Pollard is in line to break his points record this season. And when we chatted to Monty at Pazula a couple of months ago, he said if ever there was going to be a player that should be breaking his record, it's Andre Pollard. Given where he's come through, he's played 83 test matches now. He should get to 100 as well. It's kind of was written in the stars for him from a young age. So hopefully he can do something special for Leicester. And the final will be Bath-Leicester, and it'll be South African against South African again.
Fabulous, mate. Fabulous.
It'd be wonderful, eh?
Just taking over this rugby game, mate. It's incredible.
You know, and it's nice to be a leader. You spoke about me saying, we got the best coaches in the world. You know, for so long we were sucking the hindsight of everything Kiwi, eh?
Yeah.
And, I mean, Fabian Gold, he's a fabulous coach. Farrell's just a wonderful coach. Scott Robertson, what he did with Super Rugby. Robbie Deans has been there around Steve Hansen and what he did in his day. But we've never really had the collective of South African coaches being so powerful, so strong, and so influential in driving trends and the adaptability to go to any country and actually be successful. And I think it's easy for this country to be so hard on the Boxers, to be hard on South African players and coaches. But let's be the cheerleaders when it's going right. Let's take the pom-poms out and let's call it box by 10 always.
I think part of that has got to do with the fact that economics dictated we had to let our players go overseas. And I think the reward of that is that coaches went overseas too, and everybody got exposed to everybody's rugby. I think no country in the world had access to more international IP than we did. Our coaches were getting exposed to rugby in Japan, rugby in England, rugby in France, rugby in Ireland, rugby in Scotland, rugby in New Zealand. So, whereas I think the rest of the rugby programs in the world are a lot more parochial and insular, with the exception of the Pacific Islanders. So, I think this is the reward for being as expansive as we have been in our strategy. Or no?
You were saying?
You look dumbfounded there, mate. What?
Can't believe that you've spoken so much.
No, but you get what I'm saying. I think there's definitely an aspect of it that, like, we know stuff about what's going on in rugby that other teams potentially don't, because they don't have the same volume of players playing abroad, coaches coaching abroad.
Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie.
Exactly.
Say that for me.
I can't.
Say it. Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie.
Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie.
Yes, of
There we go. Sien jy?
And here you were trying to give us a Spanish version of Afrikaans. What happened to your deported oak? He's gone, eh?
Yeah, he's gone, mate.
Ricky, no more.
When the sun's back, he'll be back.
Okay. Looking at sun, it won't be sunshine when the Bulls play against the Sharks. The lights will be on. And now, you got to tell me, who's your winner?
Are we not talking Leinster Glasgow at all?
We're going to get to them.
I can't believe it. This guy. I'm going to pick.
They are a footnote.
Who cares?
Cares.
So, matey, I think that you should make your picks and then I'm going to make my picks.
Okay, mate.
Both of them.
All right. I have got the Bulls to win 31-26.
So 12 points.
5 points. 31-26. I'm giving it to Jake White's Bulls. Home ground advantage is what's going to do it. I think the Sharks are not going to be able to put another rabbit/rat out of the hat.
Yeah.
And it's not because I got anything against the Sharks. It's because I really do.
Come on.
It's because I really do dig the Bulls. Because there's only one rivalry in this country. It's north-south. And what's left is north.
Nobody smokes Peter Stuyvesant in Pretoria, mate.
Exactly. I like Pretoria. I like the players there. And I dig the individual players in the Sharks. I just don't like Durban, mate.
Okay.
So,
The other game, go.
no. I just want to say this. This is one for the Bulls. 'n Blowbil eet nie van die vloer af nie. 'n Blowbil ken nie van verloor af nie. This one is an emotive one for the Bulls. This is payback time for February. This is telling their people we can get this right for what happened last time. Because you asked about the Leinster-Glasgow game. 28-26 to Glasgow. And the final will be at Loftus. There, I've said it.
Fantastic. We are closely aligned. Not 100% aligned, but closely. I love that call. So let me start by saying that I think Glasgow are going to beat Leinster. Glasgow have lost twice to Leinster in a row. In the lead up to last week's game, we said nobody beats Franco Smith 3 times in a row. They're going to come back. They've learned some lessons after that drubbing against Leinster and then the close one. They know how to beat Leinster. Leinster can barely swallow. They're so tight at the moment. Somebody in that Glasgow team, probably Henko Venter, is going to wink at an Irishman and it's going to start an entire volcano there. So I think Glasgow win in Dublin. And then, mate, they come to South Africa to play at Kings Park against the Sharks. I've got the Sharks to beat the Bulls. Last week, they won by 0 points. This week, they're going to win by 1 point. 23-22 to the Sharks. Glasgow to beat Leinster 24-20.
And you heard that from a DHS and Pine Town. Boys, oh boy. I never had the privilege of going to school in Pretoria, but I know many who did go to school. And also when I look at that Pretoria side and I look at that Durban side, they are going to do Cape Town proud as well. There are so many Stormers players in those sides, in the coaching boxes, and on the field. And while the Stormers may not be there physically, they will be there historically.